Good day, everybody. Today we're going to do lesson plan 17, grade 3, term 2. The topic is addition and subtraction 0 to 400, and it links to DBE worksheet 38. I'm quickly going to show you. So this is worksheet 38. I'm going to go back to the lesson plan, and then this is then the link to the caps. You can pause and have a look. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to the resources and the dictionary. So the resources you're going to use to plan and prepare for this lesson, and the dictionary then for parents or teachers to have some vocabulary, background knowledge on what the learners are going to do today. Okay, so welcome then to today's lesson. The daily routine, you're first going to ask these questions. So whose birthday is it? And you're going to carry on. So I want you to pause and then ask these questions. Now we're going to look at counting. So we're going to work with the number range 0 to 500, and we're going to count in tens. So they're going to count in tens. Remember, again, give them the starting point like 210 up to 260. So they're going to count 210, 220, 230, 240, 250, 260. Again, is remember, it's always good to use concrete resources for better understanding. And then the representative level, the picture level, you can use our SA Teacher counting library. Then the next part of this activity is start at any given number. It means if we're going to start with 1, it's going to be 1, 11, 21, 31. If we're going to start at 5, it's going to be 5, 15, 25, 35. So I want you to pause now and do the counting activity. Welcome back. So now with the mental mathematics today, what we're going to do is we're going to use these numbers to make number sentences. But what we also did is we put a few examples in that will not work. So we want the children to identify that and then ask how will they change it. So a bit of a challenge. So let's look at the first one, 22, 12, and 20. So what you will notice is that we will rather need to change one of the numbers or maybe two. So this is where you're then going to ask them, what are we going to do here? So I'm going to change the 20 to a 10, and then I can make a number sentence. So 12 plus 10 equals to 22. 22 minus 12 equals to 10. You will note how children love it to find the errors and then correct it and then make their own number sentence. It just makes them feel if this is part of their own work. 30 to 20, 13, 23 to 10. So here again, this is an easy one because it's 13 plus 10 is 23, or 23 minus 13 is 10, or 23 minus 10 is 13. So I want you to do all 10. Please guide them where they need to correct some of these numbers. You can always give them a signal or anything. Make it fun. Mental mathematics can also be fun, and through that, we also help them to understand it. So I want you to pause at the mental mathematics, and then we're going to carry on with the rest of the lesson. Okay, so today what we're going to do is for the introduction activity, we're going to do a quick exercise where we every time go to count forwards and backwards. So in the first example, 17 minus 8 equals 9. We're going to count backwards 9 times. So we're going to say 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9. So we counted 8 backwards and we get the answer is then 9. It is fine if they use their hands, their fingers at the moment. So that let's go and look then at the next example. So we're going to say 8 plus 7. So we're going to count forwards 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So we see the answer is 15. Um, Here again is what we're going to do is we're going to subtract and we're going to count backwards. Here again, we're going to add and we're going to count forwards. Let's look at these examples then. So what happens here is we work with larger numbers. So they don't always have to count backwards. We need to show them that we can also count forwards by starting from 198. We can say 199, 200, 201, 202, 203, 204, and 205. So it will give me then 7. Ask them, I showed you example where you go then from 198 and you count forwards. Ask the learners or the child then to show you an example where they will count backwards and they will still get to the same number. Here we're counting forwards. Here again is what we do is we start from this number and we then count forwards to get 230. So here again, I want you to ask them to use this where they're then going to count backwards. Then this one where we're going to add and we're going to count then forwards. So I want you to pause, and especially where we make use of subtraction, let them explain to you how we can count forwards and backwards getting the answers. This activity is very important so learners can understand that addition is the inverse of subtraction and subtraction is the inverse operation of addition. I want you to pause and then do this activity. So welcome back. Again, is what we're going to do is we're going to look at the abstract form, but we're going to use then concrete resources and representative resources. So very important, again, is that they understand the place value of the numbers. So we got going to have 275. So we got 200, we got 7 rods, each rod equals to 10, and then we got our units. So we got 275. This must be a practical activity where we then do it with our base 10 blocks and our place value cards. Again, is if you don't have base 10 blocks at home, please contact us at info@sateacher.co.za so we can send you some examples, or you can go and download what we call a little plug-in where we have these blocks and resources on a representative level. So I want you to pause and then do these 2 activities. You might even need to add more numbers. So it's time to pause. Okay, welcome back. So what we're going to do is we're going to make use of expanded notation to add 2 numbers. So we're first going to break up 324 into 300 plus 20 plus 4 and 80 plus 2. Then we're going to group the hundreds, tens, and units together. So in this case, we just have 300, and we got a 20, and an 80, and a 4, and a 2. So here we got our tens, and here we got our units. So let's see how it's going to look like. So we got here our 300. We got our 20 and our 80 together. And then what we have is we have our 6 here. But look what happened here. When we put the 20 and the 80 together, it forms 100. So we can swap this then for a hundreds block. So this is what you see here. We got 300 plus those gives me 100 plus 6. And it gives us a total of 406. And they're going to count that again. If the learner struggles with this, let them swap out a few. I just quickly going to give you some examples. So we can have, here we have 20 and 80, but we're going to have 10 plus 90. We've got 30 plus 70, 60 plus 40, 50 plus 50. So do a few activities with them like this, and then they swap it out for a hundreds block. On this side, I just explain it, and you can pause and have a look at, because while they're packing out their blocks, they can also pack it out with their flashcards before they go to the abstract form, the writing, where they can write this in their books or their writing books or a piece of paper. I want you to pause And I want you to do these two, so your concrete and your representative level, and then I want the learner or the child to do the abstract form in their books. I want you to pause and do this activity. Okay, welcome back. So we're going to look at the next example, and again is I'm going to explain it from the abstract form, but what's very important to do it with our base 10 and flashcards. So we got 223, so we got 223 packed out here, and 136. So we got 200 plus 20 plus 3, 100 plus 30 plus 6. So what are we going to do? We're going to put then the hundreds together, the 200 and the 100. Then we're going to put the tens together. So what we have is we have a 20 and a 30, and then a 3 and a 6. So if we put it together, we got a 300, and we got a 50, and we got a 9. We can also show it then with our flashcards. So I want you to pause again, do this using the blocks and the flashcards at the same time, and then do the activity in the learner's book or at home on a piece of paper or a writing book. Welcome back. So in the next example, what we're going to do is we're going to take a 3-digit number and add a 2-digit number, but we're only going to break up the second number. Now, I just quickly want to show you the step that was before the one I showed you here. So it's 324. 324 plus 80 plus 2. So what we do is it's the way we think. So in this case, here you can see we got 324 plus 80 and a 2. So I'm just going to repeat. So we got 324 plus, we're first going to plus the 80. So if we're going to plus the 80 here, it gives us 100. We swap it for a block, then we get 400 here. So we still need to add the units. So we're going to add then the 2. So we get 406. So why did I put in the step? So if you see the child struggles to add the 80 to this, add a 40 and then another 40. This is just an example of how we can support. If this is not needed, they can go from this step 324 plus 80 plus 2, and they can go straight into 324 plus 80 and then plus 2. Remember, these arrows is the way we think. Again, very important. A lot of times we will say, but why do we do all these methods? Remember, all these methods and techniques leads later on to understanding other concepts in mathematics. So it's not always just to choose the easiest method that will go the quickest, so our children can perform the best. But it's sometimes also methods to make them think, to make them unpack numbers, to repack numbers. So what we say, we break down, we build up again to get to an answer. So again, I want to put the emphasis on that certain techniques, we might not be familiar with those, but those helping later with other number or even algebraic concepts. Okay, so after you paused, we're going to do then the last example. So in the next example, what we're going to do is we're going to take 323 plus 136, but this time we're going to break up the second number, And then every time we're going to add a number to 323. So what we can do is we pack out 323 here with our flashcards. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add 100. So if we add 100, what happens on this side? So we got 423. Then we're going to add the tens. So if we're going to add the tens then to there, and we show it here with our blocks, what's going to happen? It's going to become 50. So now the last step then that what we need to do is we need then to add the 6 to it. So if we add then a 6 to the units, to the 3, we get 9 and we get an answer of 459. Remember, again, if I show you arrows, this is the way we think. It's a thinking process and how we pack it out. You will also note how your child starts to love mathematics because they understand it. A lot of times on the abstract method, it feels that if they're just doing or they're just following a recipe. But with this, they are following an approach. And again, this is based on international methods. I want you to pause and then try this activity. Welcome back. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do similar activities, but this time what we're going to do is we're going to do it through problem solving. So you're going to read the problem to the child, and what they're going to do is first going to recognize the numbers. So Pamela has collected 213 bottle tops. If Ken gave her 29 bottle tops, he would have the same number as Pamela. How many bottle tops would they both have? How many bottle tops did Ken have to begin with? So what you're going to do is I want you to solve it. Again, is you can solve it step by using your base 10 blocks. I gave you here an example. I also gave you an extra activity. So you can first pause here and go through this. And then you can pause here and do this problem solving. Then the next problem solving that we're going to do is we're going to do the problem, but you're going to solve it by using the place value cards, and you're going to follow the process. So go through this and explain it then to the child. And here again is what we're going to do is we're going to look at the problem solving and we're going to explain it. Let's then look at the worksheet. So here with the worksheet, you're then going to do these first, the number sentences. Here again is let the child choose a method of his or her choice. Then you're going to do the problem solving. And lastly, what we're going to do is we're going to come to the consolidation. And what you're going to do is you're going to click, if you have all yeses, we're going to carry on to the next lesson. If you've got some no's, you need to revise, revisit certain questions or activities, or contact us at SA Teacher.